Hello everyone. Till now I have uploaded 8 lectures on the fundamental aspects of conformational analysis of few compounds. In this lecture I am going to discuss conformation and reactivity. As I told you in my first lecture that in a reaction it is not necessary that all conformations should give the same product. In some reaction, one conformation may give one product, another conformation of the same compound may give a different product. So in this lecture, we are going to learn this type of aspects. Are you able to follow? Yeah. I am also going to discuss few questions that already appeared in the CSIR examination. Okay. Yeah. Let's proceed with the topic. Before begin with, let me give some information on the conformations. Okay, I have few questions here. Draw the chair conformation of the following. See here 3 compounds are given because we need some practice to draw the chair conformations. Suppose see question number 1. In question number 1, it is a cyclohexane, substituted cyclohexane is given, and methyl group, tertiary butyl group, both are facing towards us. That means it is a cis isomer. Okay, 1,4 cis isomer. Right? You know very well. For 1,2 in cyclohexane, for 1,2 cis isomer means one group should be axial, the other group should be equatorial. Trans isomer means both should be equatorial or both should be axial. Similarly, for 1,3 cis means both should be equatorial and both should be axial, or both should be axial. Trans means one should be axial, the other should be equatorial. Similarly, 1,4. Okay, cis, one group should be axial, the other group should be equatorial. Trans means both should be equatorial or both should be axial. So, for the first compound, since it is 1,4 substituted compound and it is cis, therefore one group should be equatorial, the other group should be axial. And you know very well, larger group prefers to occupy equatorial position. So this is the chair conformation for that compound. So this is, suppose if I take this is carbon number 1, this is carbon number 2, 3 and this is 4. So we have to place one group axial, the other group equatorial. Since tertiary butyl group is a larger group, okay, that prefers to occupy the equatorial position. Okay, and place the methyl group in axial position. This is the chair conformation for the compound. Are you able to follow? Then see the second compound. The second compound is also cyclohexane derivative or substituted cyclohexane. Here we have a chlorine isopropyl group and a methyl group. Chlorine and isopropyl group are related as cis. Okay, and isopropyl and methyl are exist in trans form. Now, so in the chair conformation, listen, chlorine and isopropyl 1,3 relation, isopropyl and methyl also 1,3 substituted, right? So how to draw the conformation? See, repeat. First we will start with isopropyl. First, because since it is a larger group, place this group in equatorial position. Then with respect to this isopropyl group, methyl is trans, right? 1,3 trans. Now listen, so place the isopropyl group in carbon number 1. Okay, from in carbon number 3 we should place methyl group, and these two should be trans. Trans means one should be, these two are trans. Trans means 1,3 trans. 1,3 trans means one group should 1,3 trans means one group should be axial, the other group should be equatorial. So since we have already placed isopropyl group in equatorial position, so you should place the methyl group in axial position. Are you clear? Then what is the relation between suppose if I take this as carbon number 1, this is 2, this is 3, then this is carbon number 4, and this is carbon number 5. Okay, so in carbon number 5 we have chlorine, right? And what is the relation between isopropyl group and chlorine? These two are cis, right? Cis, and with respect to these two carbon, it is 1,3 position, correct? If we take isopropyl attached carbon as 1, this is carbon number 3. So it is 1,3 substituted, but cis. For 1,3 cis, both should be axial or both should be equatorial. Therefore, since I placed isopropyl group in equatorial position, that chlorine must also be placed in equatorial. So this is the conformation for this compound. Okay. Then the next question. And the next question is this: where here we have a tertiary butyl group and 2 bromine atoms. Okay, tertiary butyl and bromine atoms are this bromine, right? Suppose if I take this carbon number 1, this is 2, 3 and 4. So in 1 and 4 we have trans orientation. Trans means both should be axial. 1, 4, right? 1, 4 trans means both should be axial or both should be equatorial. Since we have tertiary butyl group prefers to occupy only equatorial position. Therefore, the preferred so place tertiary butyl group in equatorial position. This is carbon 1, right? And this is 2, this is 3, and this carbon is carbon number 4. Since 1 and 4 are trans, you should place both the group either in axial position or equatorial position, and tertiary butyl group, right, should be placed in equatorial always. Therefore, bromine must also be placed in equatorial position, so that you will get trans. Then these 2 bromine atoms, they are actually having cis relation, right? See in the question, the 2 bromine atoms have cis relation, and it is attached in adjacent carbon, so it is 1, 2. 1, 2 cis. For 1, 2 cis, one group should be axial, the other group should be equatorial. Since we have placed this bromine already in equatorial position, so this group must be placed in axial position. Are you clear? So this is the conformation for the given compound, chair conformation. Then the next question: draw the most stable conformation of the following. Okay. Now this is not a cyclohexane ring. This ring has 2 oxygen atoms and 1 OH group. Okay. So we can write this structure in chair form. So in the chair form, yeah. So this I'll take the OH attached carbon as number 1. This carbon number 1, and we have 2 oxygen atoms, right, at 3 positions. Okay, if I go by this way, this is 3 position. If I go by this way, this is another 3 position, right? And we have 2 oxygen atoms. So now we have 2 possible orientations. The hydroxy group may be oriented in equatorial manner or may be present in axial manner. Usually the equatorial conformation is more stable over axial, but in this case, this OH group, right, this hydrogen, they form a weak hydrogen bond. Yes, an intramolecular hydrogen bond is formed, right? Due to this intramolecular hydrogen bonding, this conformation gets more stabilization. So this conformation is more stable over this. Okay, it's because of intramolecular hydrogen bonding. Okay. Then the next question is, what is the conformation of gamexene? What is gamexene? Hexachlorocyclohexane, right? It's called gamexene. But hexachlorocyclohexane has many isomers, right? Many conformational structures are there. Gamexene is actually the gamma isomer of hexachlorocyclohexane. So in gamexene, the first 3 chlorine atoms should be placed in axial manner. And the remaining 3 chlorine atoms should be placed in equatorial manner. Equatorial. Okay, this is the isomer called gamexene, which is used as a pesticide in fertilizer industry. Okay, in agriculture. Yeah. So the first 3 chlorine atoms should be axial, the remaining 3 chlorine atoms should be equatorial, right, in gamex. So the so in gamex you should place 3 chlorine atoms. I will draw the chair form. Okay, place first chlorine in axial, place second chlorine also in axial, and place the third chlorine also in axial. Then keep the fourth chlorine equatorial, fifth chlorine atom also equatorial, and sixth chlorine also in equatorial manner. Okay, so this is the conformation of gamexane. Remember, gamexane is not the stable conformer of hexachlorocyclohexane, but gamexane is a particular isomer of hexachlorocyclohexane, right? It's called gamma isomer. So the gamma isomer, in gamma isomer, these are the orientations of different groups. Okay, then the next question, cis 1, 3 cyclohexane diol. You know very well, cis 1, 3 means both the groups should be either axial or both the groups should be either equatorial. So now equatorial is highly preferred, right? Generally equatorial conformation is more stable, but in this case, see, in this case it is not like that. Why? Because in this case this is a chair conformation. Now if we have two hydroxy group, right, in axial manner, 1, 3 diaxial. So this is carbon number 1, 2 and 3. So if we have a hydroxy group here, now between the two hydroxy group, since they are in close proximity, there will be intramolecular hydrogen bonding. This intramolecular hydrogen bonding stabilizes this conformation. Therefore, diaxial cis is the most stable conformation for cyclohexane diol. Are you clear? Yeah. Then, so these are the few questions I like to discuss with you. So then, yeah. Now we will discuss the conformation and reactivity. Under this heading, I am going to discuss few important reactions. So the first one is actually the debromination using iodide catalyst. Okay, iodide catalyzed debromination of 2, 3 dibromobutane. So this is dibromobutane. This is the 2, 3 dibromobutane. See, in 2, 3 dibromobutane, we have this carbon is chiral carbon. This is also chiral carbon. So we have two possible isomers. Why two possible isomers? Actually, 3 possible isomers are there. One is called mesoisomer. The remaining 2 is called active form. They exist in trio structure. Are you able to understand? So we have D3O and L3O of the compound, right? Yeah. Now, so in the meso form, you know very well what is meso form, right? So if you look the molecule, if you look this Fischer configuration, Fischer projection in 3 different ways, right? In all the 3 directions we have similar group. Therefore, it must be meso. 3O means none are one. You know the rule, right? None are one. So in the left hand side we have different group, right hand side we have different group, but in the middle we have same group. One direction has similar group. Therefore, it should be 3O isomer. Now the question is, if meso or 3O isomers undergo debromination, do we get same product or different product? Yeah. See, iodide catalyst debromination occurs by E2 elimination reaction. Okay, it is bimolecular elimination reaction. For E2 elimination reaction, the preferred orientation is anti-periplanar orientation. See, in the reaction, in debromination, we are going to remove bromine atom from adjacent carbon. The 2 eliminating groups, this bromine and this bromine, the 2 eliminating group must be in anti-periplanar conformation. Okay, that is the preferred conformation for E2 elimination. Are you able to understand? So, now First we should convert this Fischer projection of meso into the corresponding Sahar's or Newman. For understanding the reaction, Sahar's projection is much comfortable or much convenient to us. Okay, so first we will convert this Fischer projection of meso to the Sahar's. As I told you in one of my lecture, that meso is actually the Fischer projection of meso. Fischer projection is actually the eclipsed projection of Sahar's or Newman. So when you convert Fischer into Sahar's, it should be in eclipsed form. So this is the front carbon. I'll take this as front carbon and this as rear carbon. So in the front carbon we have methyl group down, bromine right, hydrogen left. So keep the, so this is front carbon and this is your rear carbon. So in the front carbon, place the methyl group as such down, bromine should be in right hand side and hydrogen should be left hand side. Then in the rear carbon, the upward methyl, just bring it down. Okay, bring it down. Then keep the hydrogen left and bromine right as such. So this is the Sahar's conformation for the meso isomer. But we know very well, for debromination, the two bromine atoms should be in anti-periplanar conformation. Okay, so for this I am going to rotate this molecule. Okay, I will bring this bromine down and I will bring this bromine upward. So what I am going to do, I am going to rotate, right, this in the clockwise direction by 120 degree. So this bromine will come here, this methyl will go here and this hydrogen will come over here, correct? You will get this structure. Now in the rear carbon, I am going to rotate 60 degree in the anti-clockwise manner. When you do 60 degree, the bromine will come here, the hydrogen will go down and methyl will come here. Okay, you will get this conformation. Now see, this conformation, in this conformation, the bromine atoms are in anti-periplanar conformation. Okay, anti-periplanar orientation. So now if the elimination occurs in the presence of iodide, so iodide will remove this bromine as Br plus. Br plus combined with I minus form IBr. Okay, then this bond moves here, you will get a double bond here. When this bond moves here, this bromine atom comes out as Br minus. So you will get this product as byproduct, leave it. Now you will get a double bond between these two carbon. See, once the double bond is formed, see this in the front carbon, methyl is left, hydrogen is right. In the rear carbon, methyl right, hydrogen left. So you will end up with a trans isomer. You will get trans 2-butene. Are you clear? Then so you will get trans 2-butene. Similarly, if you take the active form, so this is the active form, also called threoform. In threoform, this is the Fischer projection of threoform. Convert the Fischer projection into Sahar's, okay, as we did before. So in the front carbon, keep the methyl down, bromine left, hydrogen right. Then in the rear carbon, hydrogen is present left, bromine is right, so keep it as such, and the methyl group should be folded down. Okay, it should be folded down. Then now to bring the anti-periplanar structure, you have to rotate. So bring this bromine down, okay, and bring this methyl here, and this hydrogen will go here. Okay, you will get this structure. And in the rear carbon, bring the bromine up. Okay, rotate by 60 degree. So this bromine will come here, hydrogen will go slightly below, and methyl group will come here. Correct? You will get this structure. Now, in this conformation, the two bromine atoms are anti. The two bromine atoms are anti to each other. Therefore, if you add iodide, okay, if you carry out elimination reaction, now bromine will comes out as Br plus, and you will get double bond here, and this bromine comes out as Br minus. Now you will get double bond between these two carbon, and now in this case the methyl groups are in the same side. So it is a cis isomer. Are you able to follow? So meso isomer gives one product and the active form gives a different product. Right? Yeah. This type of reaction is called a stereo specific reaction, where one isomer gives one product and the other isomer gives a different product. Right? Yeah, this is called This is an example of stereospecific reactions. Next. Then the second question that we are going to discuss is about elimination reaction. Base catalyzed elimination we are going to discuss. Very specifically, dehydrohalogenation of methyl chloride and neomethyl chloride. Okay, what is meant by methyl chloride? Remember, in methyl chloride or menthol, methylamine, in all these compounds, there should be a methyl group and isopropyl group at 1 and 4 positions. So, in the cyclohexane, right, we must have a methyl group at position 1 and isopropyl group at position 4. And these two should be trans. Remember, whether it is methyl chloride, menthol, methylamine, whatever it is, okay, the cyclohexane ring should contain a methyl group and isopropyl group and 1 and 4 position, and they must be in trans always. Now, what is the difference between methyl chloride and neomethyl chloride? This is very, very important. Often student will commit mistake here. Okay, to avoid that mistake, what I like to say is, you take this MES methyl group. Okay, so in methyl chloride, this methyl and chlorine should be cis. If it is neomethyl chloride, then this chloride should be cis with the isopropyl group. Are you getting the point? See, in methyl chloride, the methyl group and chlorine should be cis. See, methyl and chlorine should be cis, and chlorine should be placed, okay, adjacent to isopropyl group. Right? In methyl chloride, methyl group and chlorine should be oriented in a cis manner. In neomethyl chloride, the chlorine and isopropyl group should be cis. Are you able to understand? Suppose if you take menthol or methylamine, whatever it is, the same method you should follow. Right? Yeah. Now, in methyl chloride, okay, if I carry out elimination, what will happen? First, I will draw the methyl chloride in chair conformation. So, in the chair conformation, see, this carbon, the methyl group and isopropyl group, which are present in 1,4 position, and they are trans. 1,4 trans. It means both the groups should be axial or both the groups should be equatorial. Since isopropyl group is a large group, it prefers equatorial position. Therefore, methyl group should also be placed in equatorial. And this is the most stable orientation or conformation. Okay. Now, with respect to this isopropyl group, the adjacent chlorine is trans, right? Isopropyl and the see this structure is very clear. One group is towards us, the other group is behind the board, behind the plane. So these two are trans. 1,2 trans means both should be axial or both should be equatorial. So since we have placed isopropyl group already in equatorial manner, so chlorine should also be in equatorial position. Are you able to understand? Now, this is very, very important. See, in chair conformation, right? And listen, dehydrohalogenation of secondary halide prefers to undergo E2 elimination. For E2 elimination, the group that are going to be eliminated, say hydrogen and chlorine, okay, they must be diaxial, because the diaxial orientation, okay, will give anti-periplanar structure. Are you able to follow? So, for E2 elimination, since it is a E2 elimination reaction, for E2 elimination reaction, the group that are going to be eliminated, okay, should exist in anti-periplanar form. This anti-periplanar form is possible if the two groups are orienting in axial manner. Are you able to understand? So now we have chlorine. Chlorine is one of the eliminating group. This group going to be eliminated. Okay. Now this chlorine is in equatorial form. So elimination is difficult now. So what we have to do? Make the ring flipping. Okay. If ring flipping occurs, definitely this ring flipping isomer will be a less stable isomer, but the reaction will undergo only from this. Why? Because in this conformation, the chlorine atom is now it is in axial manner, correct? You know very well, when you do ring flipping, the axial groups become equatorial and equatorial become axial. See, in this conformation, all these groups, methyl, chlorine, isopropyl, all are equatorial. So when you do ring flipping, all become axial. Now, this chlorine is present here. Okay, for this chlorine, the adjacent carbon has axial hydrogen. So now the hydrogen and this chlorine both are axial. So anti-periplanar structure is available. So it undergo elimination. Whereas, you know very well, for elimination, the elimination occurs from the adjacent carbon, right? See, if chlorine is attached here, right, you take this carbon as alpha carbon, then the next carbon is beta. So beta elimination will occur, right? Similarly, if this is alpha, this carbon also beta, but in this beta, hydrogen is present in equatorial manner. Are you clear? So this is not a preferred orientation. Whereas here we have an equatorial hydrogen as well as axial hydrogen. So axial hydrogen is available. So this is the preferred orientation. So it will undergo A2 elimination and gives this product. See, double bond is formed between these two carbon. Okay. In the right hand side, the adjacent carbon has methyl group. In the left hand side, adjacent carbon has isopropyl group. So you'll get this product, and name of this product is 2-menthene. And this is the only product possible for this methyl chloride. So you'll get 100% of this product. Are you able to follow? Now I'll take this isomer, neomethyl chloride. In neomethyl chloride, see, the methyl group and the isopropyl group are trans, right? And chlorine atom and isopropyl group are cis. So what is the chair conformation for this? Yeah. So this is the chair conformation. See, carbon 1 and carbon 4, they have trans relation. So the two groups should be equatorial. And isopropyl and chlorine is cis, correct? For 1,2 cis, because they are present on adjacent carbon, for 1,2 cis, right, one group should be axial, the other group should be equatorial. Since the isopropyl group is already placed in equatorial position, the chlorine must be placed in axial position. Okay. Then if you add the base, elimination will occur. Now listen, this is very, very important. Now for this chlorine, this is alpha carbon, the adjacent carbon is beta. So I have a beta carbon here with axial hydrogen, and I have another beta carbon here with axial hydrogen. So now I have two axial hydrogens which are in preferred position. So if elimination occurs from this side, we will get a double bond here. Suppose if elimination occurs from this side, you will get double bond here. So you will get two possible products. So these are the two possible products. Now, see, in one product, double bond is connected to isopropyl carbon. In the other product, double bond is present between the two, between the methyl and the isopropyl. Are you able to follow? And this compound is called 2-menthene. If you remove this hydrogen, you will get 2-menthene. If you remove this hydrogen, you will get this product. It is called 3-menthene. But among the two, so you will get mixture of two products. Among the two, 3-menthene is the major product. Why? It is more substituted double bond, correct? It is more substituted, am I right or not? Yeah. So this is triply substituted double bond. This is doubly substituted double bond. So more substituted double bonds are more stable. Therefore, this is the major product. Okay. Then the next question, saponification of ester. You know very well, ester undergo base catalyzed hydrolysis. Base catalyzed hydrolysis of ester is what we call as saponification of ester. Okay. So if you take an ester and if you treat it with the base, okay, the base undergoes nucleophilic attack, and this step is the rate determining step. So nucleophilic attack of the base to the ester is the rate determining step. Okay, you will get this ion, right? When OH attacks here, this bond goes to oxygen, so you will get O minus, okay, and OH is attached with this carbon. When this minus comes back, OR is a better leaving group, so that group will come out and you will get this product. Okay. Now listen, in the rate determining step, So in saponification of ester, the attack of OH minus to the carbonyl carbon, this nucleophilic attack is the rate determining step. Remember, in rate determining step, suppose if the reactant is less stable, then the reaction will occur faster. Or suppose if the product is less stable, then the reaction occurs slower. Are you able to understand this? If your reactant is less stable, reaction occurs faster. Suppose if your product is less stable, then the reaction occurs slowly. Okay, so now the two isomers are given here, the cis isomer and the trans isomer of some ester. Okay, and we have a tertiary butyl group here. So it is 4 tertiary butyl, right, ester, some ester. And I have taken the cis isomer and trans isomer. If you carry out this saponification, cis isomer undergoes this reaction slowly, whereas the trans isomer undergoes the same reaction faster manner. Okay, so they are actually isomers, but they undergo reaction in a different speed. What is the reason for this? Okay, suppose if I take the cis isomer, so this is cis isomer. The first step is the nucleophilic attack, and you know very well that is the rate determining step. See, in the rate determining step, you see the reactant is present in axial position. When reactant is present in axial position, we have 1,3 diaxial interaction. Okay, so this conformation is less stable only. But when this OH minus attack the carbonyl carbon, you will get still larger group. Okay, so steric crowding increases here. When steric crowding increases, 1,3 diaxial interaction become very strong. Therefore, compared to your reactant, this product is highly unstable. Since the product is less stable, the reaction will occur slowly. It is because of steric crowding increased in the axial position. Are you clear? Suppose if you take trans isomer, in trans isomer this ester group is in equatorial position. In equatorial position, the interactions are generally less, right? So when OH minus attacks the carbonyl carbon, you will get this species, but this part is again present in equatorial position. It doesn't make any crowding, steric crowding. Therefore, here there is no big change in stability, right? So this reaction occurs faster. Are you able to understand? In the cis isomer, steric crowding increases in the product side compared to reactant. In the product side, steric crowding increases, so this product become less stable. Okay, in the rate determining step, I will take this as reactant and this is product. Since the product is less stable, reaction occurs slowly. Whereas here, okay, even the OH minus attacks the carbonyl carbon. Okay, since it is in equatorial position, this group present in equatorial position, okay, steric crowding remains as such, or there is no big steric crowding that makes the conformer less stable. Are you able to understand? So in this reaction, with the trans isomer, the reaction occurs comfortably. Okay, so this reaction occurs faster manner. Are you clear? So cis isomer undergoes saponification slowly, whereas trans isomer undergoes the same reaction in a faster manner. Okay, then the next question is, compare the acidic strength of this is actually cyclohexane carboxylic acid, and the fourth carbon we have tertiary butyl group. So 4 tertiary butyl cyclohexane carboxylic acid. This is the cis isomer and this is the trans isomer. Okay, listen, cis isomer and trans isomer, for these two, okay, acidic strength are not same, right? Acidic strength of the cis isomer and trans isomer are different. Why? What's the reason? Listen, suppose I'll take the cis isomer first. Listen, you know very well, acidic strength of carboxylic acid depends upon the stability of the carboxylate ion formed, you know very well, right? If the carboxylate ion is more stable, then acidic strength is high, right? So when you take the cis acid, this cis acid, when it loses H plus, yeah, this is actually a reversible arrow. When it loses H plus, you will get a carboxylate ion, but now the carboxylate ion is present in the axial position. This carboxylate ion is stabilized by solvation, but if solvation occurs, what will happen? The solvated ion size will increase, which will give more steric entrance. Therefore, less solvation occurs, because if more solvation takes place due to 1,3 reaction interaction, that conformation becomes less stable. Therefore, only less solvation occurs. When solvation is less, stability also less. Therefore, this carboxylate ion is less stable. When the carboxylate ion is less stable, then the corresponding acid should be less acidic. Now, if you take the trans acid, in trans acid, if it loses H plus, okay, if it loses H plus, if it loses H plus, you will get carboxylate ion. Now the carboxylate ion is present in equatorial position. So even if solvation occurs, extensive solvation occurs, okay, the increase in steric crowding, here, okay, does not destabilize the conformation, okay, because this group is present in equatorial position, so no destabilization occurs. Therefore, this conformation is more stable. So this carboxylate ion is more stable. So trans acid is more acidic compared to the cis acid. More acidic means lower pKa, right? So pKa of B is less compared to A. Are you clear? Yeah. Next. Then the next reaction is oxidation of cyclohexanol using chromic acid. Chromic acid, formula H2CrO4, this is the structure. When we treat chromic acid with the primary alcohol, you will get aldehyde. You will get aldehyde first, then that will undergo further reaction, become acid. When we treat secondary alcohol with the chromic acid, you will get a ketone. Are you clear? See, here I have given only primary alcohol. Secondary alcohol also undergoes same reaction and gives the product. Tertiary alcohols do not undergo oxidation, okay, with the chromic acid. So with the primary alcohol, the first step is this. First, these two OH group, right, elimination of water will occur, and you will get an ester like this, chromic ester. That chromic ester, see, if this carbon, suppose I will take this group as the leaving group, then the leaving group connected carbon, if it contains hydrogen, then what will happen? This hydrogen comes out as H plus, and this bond will move over here. You will get C double bond O group, and this bond breaks, and this part will come out. Are you clear? And this step is the rate determining step. Very, very, very important. See this. Viewers, this is very important. In a reaction, you should know which is the rate determining step. Without knowing this, it is very difficult to understand conformation and reactivity. Are you clear? Now, so in the oxidation of alcohol using chromic acid, this step, okay, is the rate determining step. Are you able to follow? Now, if I take the cis alcohol, see, I have taken cyclohexanol, right? Cyclohexane alcohol, right? Cyclohexanol, and in the fourth position we have tertiary butyl group. So 4 tertiary butyl cyclohexanol. This is the cis isomer and the trans isomer. Now, if you add chromic acid to cis isomer, the oxidation occurs faster. Whereas if you add chromic acid to trans isomer, the oxidation occurs slower. Actually, they are isomers. Okay, but the rate of the reactions are different. Why? What's the reason? The reason is, listen, in the cis isomer, when you add chromic acid, first it will react with the alcohol and eliminate a water molecule. You will get a chromic ester like this. Now this oxygen attached to carbon has one hydrogen. So the second step is the rate determining step. the hydrogen comes out as H plus, and this bond migrate here, you will get a double bond, and this group comes out. So you will get a carbonyl group here. Are you clear? Now in the rate determining step, see the reactant and the product. Yeah, in product we have only carbonyl group here. If you have carbonyl group, 1,3 diaxial interactions are absent, so this is more stable, no doubt. But now here this chromic ester group, okay, this group is present in axial position. So due to 1,3 diaxial interaction, okay, and it is a sterically crowded group. It's a large size group, right? So 1,3 diaxial interaction is very strong here. Therefore, your reactant is less stable. In the rate determining step, your reactant is less stable. That means the reaction occurs faster. So it is more steric crowding is there. So the reactant is less stable, but it is more reactive. Less stable means more reactive. So reaction occurs faster. Are you clear? Yeah. Suppose if we take trans isomer, in trans isomer the OH group is present in equatorial position. So if the chromic acid reacts with this, you will get first this ester, then the oxygen attached carbon has one hydrogen. Okay, that hydrogen comes out as H plus, this bond will migrate here, you will get double bond O. But now in this case, this group is present in the equatorial position. So the stability of this conformer is more compared to this. Therefore, this reaction, right, undergoes slowly. Why? Because your reactant is more stable. Whereas here your reactant, okay, with respect to RDS, remember with respect to RDS, the reactant is less stable here, and here the reactant is more stable. If the reactant is less stable, reaction occurs faster. If the reactant is more stable, then the reaction occurs slowly. Okay, then the next question. Then the next question is this. I am going to discuss another elimination reaction. Right now, I have taken 2-bromobutane. Right, when 2-bromobutane is treated with alcoholic KOH on heating, alcoholic KOH heating is the best notation for elimination, right? And the reaction undergoes by E2 elimination. You know very well, this is actually a very lower level question. If we add alcoholic KOH, listen, bromine attached carbon is alpha, and this is beta carbon, this is another beta carbon. So you can do elimination by removing hydrogen here and bromine here, so that you will get double bond here, or by removing hydrogen from here, okay, you can form a double bond here. And you know very well, the more substituted double bond is more stable. But now the question is not that. The question is, see, if you remove hydrogen from this carbon, you will get more substituted double bond, good. But in this case, you will get cis-2-butene. If double bond is formed here, that compound may be cis-2-butene or maybe trans-2-butene. Cis-2-butene or trans-2-butene, you will get a mixture. Now the question is, among these two, which is major? Are you clear? I am not asking that whether you are getting 1-butene or 2-butene in major amount. Okay, that question actually a 12th standard question. But now the question is, in the more stable, in the more substituted alkene, you will get two possible isomers, cis isomer and trans isomer. Among the two, which is major? Okay, how to predict? Yeah, listen, again this is, since it is a secondary halide, secondary halides prefers to undergo E2 elimination. You know very well, tertiary halides prefers to undergo E1. Okay, all other halide prefers to undergo E2 in general. So this halide undergo E2 elimination, and I told you in the beginning, for E2 elimination, anti-periplanar orientation is preferred, right? So for this molecule, with respect to this carbon-carbon single bond, two staggered conformations are possible. Okay, listen, I will take this carbon as front carbon and this carbon as rear carbon. In the front carbon, we have one hydrogen, one methyl, one bromine, right? So I will place bromine downward, hydrogen left and methyl right. And in the rear carbon, we have two hydrogen and one methyl. So place one hydrogen, right, exactly in the in the rear carbon, you place one hydrogen exactly opposite to bromine, okay, so that the other hydrogen and methyl group are placed in adjacent position, okay. Now, this is one anti-periplanar orientation, okay. If this undergo elimination, right, so this hydrogen comes out as H plus and this bond move over here and you will get a double bond between the front carbon and the rear carbon. Then this bromine comes out as Br minus. Are you able to understand? So, if you get a double bond here, the two methyl groups are present in same side, okay, and the two hydrogen atoms are also present in same side. So, you will get a cis-2-butene. Are you clear? Then, there's another possible staggered conformation for this compound is, listen, now bring this hydrogen here. If you bring this hydrogen here, what will happen? If you bring this hydrogen here, so you have to rotate the rear carbon 120 degree in clockwise. Therefore, this hydrogen will come over to this place and this methyl will go here. Are you clear? So, you will get this conformation. Now, see, this hydrogen and the bromine are anti-periplanar orientation. So, if you do elimination, this hydrogen comes out as H plus and this bond will move over here. So, you will get double bond between the front carbon and the rear carbon. When this bond migrates here, this bromine comes out as Br minus. Are you able to understand? It comes out as Br minus. So, you will get double bond between the front carbon and rear carbon. Now, see, the methyl groups are opposite. So, in the front carbon, you have methyl group in the right hand side and in the rear carbon, you have methyl group in the left hand side. You will get a double bond and this is a trans-2-butene. Now I have given the explanation for how to get for the formation of cis-2-butene and trans-2-butene. Now I am going to explain why among the two which is a major product. Okay, see the amount of product, right, depends upon the stability of the conformation. See, in this staggered conformation, the two methyl groups are adjacent and bromine methyl are also adjacent. So, they are in gauche conformation, right. So, gauche interaction will be there, right. So, here we have methyl-methyl gauche interaction, here we have methyl-bromine gauche interaction. Because of this, this conformation is less stable. What about this conformation? See, in this conformation, the two methyl groups are opposite. So, methyl-methyl interaction is absent. Whereas we have methyl-bromine gauche interaction, yeah, compared to this, if you compare these two, here the interaction is less. Therefore, this is the most stable conformation for the compound. Therefore, what happens is, listen, in the reaction mixture, right, almost above 99% of the conformation exists in this form. Only 1% or 2% will exist in this form. Okay, so if this undergo reaction, you will get cis-2-butene which is present in minor amount. If this undergo elimination, okay, you will get trans-2-butene, that should be the major product. So remember, the more stable conformer will give the major product. That is the point you should know here. Okay, then. Now, we'll discuss the next question. Anomeric carbon, anomers, anomeric effect. Very, very important part in carbohydrate chemistry. Here, in order to explain this, I will take D-glucose as an example. You can take T-mannose, galactose, anything, but it is better to use D-glucose because we are very familiar with the structure of D-glucose. This is the Fischer conformation, Fischer projection for the D-glucose. You know very well D-glucose has 4 chiral carbon, right? And in the Fischer projection, listen, the second chiral carbon, so actually the second carbon and the fourth and fifth chiral carbon have OH group in the right hand side, right, and the chiral carbon of 3 present in left hand side. See, this number is not the chiral carbon number, this number is actually IUPAC number. Okay, the chiral carbon of third position is having OH group in left hand side in the Fischer projection. This is called open chain structure. In open chain structure, we have only 4 chiral carbon atoms. Therefore, 2 power 4 optical isomers are possible. What is 2 power 4? 16. Right? 16 optical isomers are possible for D-glucose. Then when D-glucose form hemiacetal, okay, the OH group of the carbon number 5, right, attacks this carbon, so that when aldehyde react with alcohol, you will get hemiacetal, right? You may get so now when OH group attacks this carbon, so that this will become O minus, then protonation occurs, so you will get OH. So this is called cyclization. When cyclization takes place, this carbon become a chiral carbon. See here, now carbon number 1, see in the open chain structure, the carbon number 1 is not a chiral carbon. But when it forms the cyclic hemiacetal, right, cyclic hemiacetal, the carbon 1 become the chiral carbon. In this chiral carbon, the OH group in the Fischer projection, there are two possibilities. OH group may present in right hand side or may present in left hand side. Two possibilities are there. Okay. In the chiral carbon, in the Fischer projection, if the cyclic hemiacetal of chiral carbon 1 has OH group right hand side, it is alpha D glucopyranose. If OH group is present in left hand side, it is called beta D glucopyranose. Are you clear? Listen, in the open chain structure, carbon 1 is not a chiral carbon. But when the compound forms cyclic hemiacetal, this is called cyclic hemiacetal, right? Then carbon 1 become chiral carbon. In this chiral carbon, OH group may present in the right hand side of Fischer projection or left hand side of Fischer projection. If OH group of carbon 1 present in right hand side in the Fischer projection, it is called alpha D glucopyranose. If it is present in the left hand side, it is called beta D glucopyranose. Now, what is meant by anomeric carbon? See, the newly formed chiral carbon, due to the formation of cyclic hemiacetal, right, is called the anomeric carbon. See, in the reactant it is not a chiral carbon, but due to the formation of cyclic structure, you will get a new chiral carbon. That chiral carbon is called anomeric carbon. Due to the formation of anomeric carbon, you will get two isomers, right, alpha isomer and beta isomer. These isomers are called anomers. Are you clear? Now, here I have given the chair conformation because it is a 6-membered ring, right? Oxygen is atom 1 and this is carbon atom 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it is a 6-membered ring. So I have given the 6-membered ring like this, and this carbon number 1 I have placed here, carbon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Carbon number 6 I will show you separately. Okay, this is carbon number 5. I'm sorry, this is carbon number 5. Now, see in the Fischer projection of alpha D glucopyranose, see carbon 1, the OH group on carbon 1 and carbon 2 are present in same site. So it is a cis isomer. For 1,2 cis isomer, you know very well, for 1,2 cis, one group should be axial, the other group should be equatorial. So I will place this first OH group in axial position and the second OH group in equatorial position. Now you see 2 and 3. 2 and 3 in which OH groups are opposites, so trans isomer. Okay. So this is also 1,2 relation. 1,2 trans, both should be axial or both should be equatorial. Since in the second carbon we placed OH group in equatorial, the OH group in third position must also be in equatorial position. Similarly, if you see 3 and 4, again trans, so it should be in di-equatorial form. Since carbon number 3 has OH group in equatorial position, 4 also, OH group of 4 must also be in equatorial position. Then in chiral carbon 5, listen, this is a very important chiral carbon, okay, because in this chiral carbon, the configuration of that chiral carbon is locked. Here you will never get any possibility. Always the hydrogen, right, this hydrogen will occupy axial position and this primary alcohol will occupy equatorial position, and this carbon is carbon number 6. Listen, the configuration of this carbon is locked, right? Only one orientation is possible here. That's why if you ask how many optical isomers possible for this cyclic hemiacetal of glucose, people often give wrong answer. Because it has 5 chiral carbon, people will say 2 power 5 isomers are possible. 2 power 5 means 32 isomers. We expect 32 isomers, but only 16 exist. Why? Because the configuration of this carbon is locked. Are you able to understand? So in all other chiral carbon, you may have R configuration, S configuration and all. So you'll get different isomers. But in this carbon, the configuration is fixed. So again, for this cyclic hemiacetal, only 16 isomers are possible. Are you clear? Then similarly, this is the chair conformation for beta D glucose. Listen, in beta D glucose and alpha D glucose, if you compare, in alpha D glucose, in the chiral carbon 1, we have hydroxy group in axial position, whereas here the hydroxy group in equatorial. See here, all the groups except this OH, all other groups are equatorial. You know very well, when groups are present in equatorial position, stability is more, right? But if you compare these two, here all the groups are equatorial, but here one OH is axial. So if you compare these two structure, okay, no doubt beta glucose is the most stable glucose. Are you able to understand? So if you dissolve, right, glucose in water, you know very well it will undergo Mutar rotation. Because of Mutar rotation, you will get alpha D glucose and beta D glucose. But in these two, which is present in major amount? But beta D glucose is present in major amount. Actually, the ratio is 2:1 roughly. Right? Keep this in mind. Beta D glucose is the more stable glucose compared to alpha D. Then, and alpha D glucose and beta D glucose are called anomers. Listen, anomers are epimers, right? Anomers are epimers because they differ only in one chiral carbon. Okay, but because all other chiral carbon have similar orientation of groups, only in chiral carbon 1 the orientation are different. Are you able to understand? If two isomers differ in the orientation of only one carbon, then they are called epimers. So anomers are epimers, and you also know that epimers are diastereomers. Okay, epimers are diastereomers. Then, so in aqueous solution, beta D glucose, alpha D glucose ratio is 2:1. And here I have given the structure, chair conformation structure in the other way. I keep this oxygen here and I have drawn the chair conformation. Are you clear? Yeah. So remember, in alpha D glucose, one OH group is in axial position, whereas in beta D glucose, all the groups are in equatorial position. Are you clear? Now the next one is anomeric effect. This is very, very important in carbohydrate stereochemistry. See, if you take alpha methyl glucoside and beta methyl glucoside, say this is alpha methyl glucoside. Listen, you take D glucose, react with the methanol in presence of dry HCl. You will get, that is, the methanol will react with the OH group of carbon number 1 and form, become methoxy. OH become methoxy group. So now this is this methoxy group in axial position and this methoxy group in equatorial position. Now among the two, which is more stable? Yeah, from our basic knowledge, we say that equatorial, right? Since methoxy group here is in equatorial position, that should be more stable. This is the expected answer, but the answer is this compound is more stable and present in major amount. So when you do this reaction, you will get this product, the axial methoxy product, formed as major product. Why? What is the reason for this? This is what we call as anomeric effect. So anomeric effect is an effect in which the methoxy group, right, prefers to occupy the axial position. This is called anomeric effect. So now what is the reason for this? Okay, why this axial methoxy isomer is more stable compared to the equatorial? What's the reason for this? The reason is this is actually a new explanation for this. We have one more explanation based on dipole-dipole repulsion. The new explanation is this. See, in this oxygen has two lone pairs, This oxygen has two lone pair. One lone pair is present in axial position. The other lone pair is present in equatorial position. Now, in the axial methoxy group, see this bond, the bond between carbon and oxygen, it is a sigma bond. The sigma star orbital of this bond, okay, carbon oxygen single bond, okay, for this we have a sigma star antibonding orbital. The sigma star antibonding orbital is present exactly in the opposite side. Okay, so we have sigma star antibonding orbitals like this, right? Now, this orbital, right, and the axial lone pair, they are very close. So there will be an overlap between these two. This overlap stabilizes the conformation, okay, in more extent. Therefore, this conformation is more stable. Are you able to understand why this conformation is more stable? Because there is an overlap between the lone pair of oxygen and the sigma star orbital, sigma star antibonding molecular orbital of carbon oxygen single bond. Okay, and this carbon oxygen single bond has sigma star orbital exactly in the opposite side like this. And now, due to this overlap, okay, this conformation, okay, becomes more stable. Whereas if you take the equatorial conformer, in equatorial conformer, see, this is the sigma bond of carbon oxygen bond. Okay, this is the sigma bond, and this is the sigma star orbital. Sigma star orbital is just behind it. Now, the lone pair orbital of oxygen and the sigma star orbitals are not close proximity. Okay, they are far away. So, no overlap occur between the lone pair orbital and the sigma star orbital of carbon oxygen bond. Are you able to understand? Therefore, this conformation is less stable. Are you clear? Yeah. So among these two, which is more stable? The axial, also called alpha methyl glucoside is more stable over beta methyl glucoside. Okay. Yeah. Then. Yeah. The next reaction. Say cis isomer of 3-hydroxycyclohexane carboxylic acid and 4-hydroxycyclohexane carboxylic acid form lactone on heating, whereas the corresponding trans isomers do not. What's the reason? Yeah, see, for 3-hydroxycyclohexane carboxylic acid as well as for 4-hydroxycyclohexane carboxylic acid, cis isomer forms lactone on heating, whereas the trans isomers do not. Yeah. So I will take 3-hydroxycyclohexane carboxylic acid, the cis isomer. See, in cis isomer, the acid group and the hydroxy groups are present in 1,3 position. So 1,3 cis, in which both the groups should be either axial or both the groups should be either equatorial. Are you able to understand? So now equatorial conformation is more stable. So we start with the equatorial conformation first. Then, because of ring flipping, you will get the diaxial cis. In diaxial cis, the OH group and the acid groups are in very close proximity, right? Spatially very close. So on heating, they react and eliminate water molecule and form a cyclic ester, also called lactone. You know very well what is lactone. Cyclic ester is called lactone, right? So if we have ester group C double bond O and O, this is called ester group. If this ester group is a part of a ring cyclic compound, then it is called lactone. So you will get a lactone, and the ester group attached to a carbon, that is called alpha carbon, right? And this carbon is called beta carbon. So you will get beta lactone here, and this beta lactone, I'm sorry, this is alpha, and here we have one more carbon, right? This is beta carbon, and this carbon, this carbon is actually gamma carbon. So you will get gamma lactone, right? In gamma lactone, we have a 6-membered ring, so it is more stable, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-membered ring, it is somewhat stable. Now, if you take the trans isomer of this acid, in trans isomer 1,3 trans, one group should be equatorial, the other group should be axial. Are you clear? So you can place OH group in axial because compared to acid group, OH group is small. So you can place OH group in axial position. Now the distance between the OH group and the acid group is far away. So this conformation cannot form lactone. Even if you carry out ring flipping, the OH group will go to equatorial and the acid group will come to axial. But now also the distance between the two groups is very large. Therefore, this isomer cannot form lactone on heating. Okay, then. Similarly, if you take 4-hydroxy cyclohexane carboxylic acid, this is the cis isomer. In cis isomer, acid group and the hydroxy group present in 1,4 position. 1,4 cis. In 1,4 cis, one group should be axial, the other group should be equatorial. So here I placed acid group in axial position and the OH group in equatorial position. See, in this conformation, the distance between the two groups is very large. Therefore, they cannot form lactone on heating. So, when you convert, when chair form become boat form, okay, that is when this carbon goes up, this hydroxy group goes nearer to the acid group. So now the proximity of acid group and OH group is very close. It's very small. So they are very close. So on heating, they form lactone readily. Are you clear? Suppose if we take the corresponding trans isomer, in trans isomer the two groups are in equatorial position. Okay, this is the most stable conformation. Then in this conformation, the acid group and OH group are far away, so they cannot form lactone. Even if you convert chair form into boat form, right? See, this group will come closer to this carbon. Whereas since this acid group is already in equatorial position, the distance between the two groups is large, so they cannot form lactone. Are you able to understand? So in 3-hydroxy cyclohexane carboxylic acid as well as in 4-hydroxy cyclohexane carboxylic acid, only the cis isomers form lactone. Trans isomers, they cannot form lactone. Okay, yeah. Then okay, viewers, we have discussed a few important aspects of conformation reactivity. Now I am going to discuss some questions which appeared in the previous year CSIR examinations. Okay, see, this is one question asked in the CSIR examination. I don't know which year it was asked, so I have just randomly took some questions and I am going to discuss. Okay, the Gauss conformation of N-butane possesses plane of symmetry and is achiral, C2 axis symmetry and chiral. Okay, so what's the answer for this? We have 4 options. Now the answer is, listen, this is the Gauss conformation of butane, right? N-butane. See, in the Gauss conformation, if you draw its mirror image, see, this structure and this structure are non-superimposable. Therefore, Gauss conformation is a chiral one. Gauss conformation is chiral. As well as in the Gauss conformation, listen, this methyl group is present in front carbon and this methyl group is present rear carbon. Now, between the two groups, right, if you place an axis passing through the middle of the front carbon and rear carbon, and if you carry out 180-degree rotation, see, this methyl group which is present in rear carbon will come front and this methyl group will go back. So C2 axis is present, C2 axis symmetry is present in the molecule. Are you able to understand? So this molecule is chiral as well as the molecule has C2 axis symmetry. So the correct option is it has C2 axis symmetry and chiral. The correct option is B. Okay, then this is another question asked in the previous year CSIR examination. The major product formed in the reaction of trans 1-bromo-3-methyl cyclobutane with the sodium iodide in DMF. Yeah, so this is cyclobutane. Now the question given is trans 1-bromo-3-methyl. Yeah, so 1, this is 3. Listen, since it is trans, in trans one group should be axial, the other group should be equatorial. So I have taken bromine in axial position and methyl group in equatorial position. So it is a trans isomer. Now when you add sodium iodide, in DMF with this compound, what will happen? Sodium iodide in DMF is this is actually a very nice reagent for SN2 reaction. So in SN2 reaction, backside attack will occur. So iodide will approach in the back side. So equatorial attack will be there. So it will attack from this side. Therefore, the bromine comes out. Okay. So now the iodine will occupy the equatorial position. Now see, in the product, the methyl group is equatorial and the iodine also equatorial. You know very well, if both group are axial, cis. When both group are equatorial, then also cis. So this is a di-equatorial cis isomer, okay, of cyclobutane. Are you able to understand? So the correct answer is 1,3 cis should be the answer, right? 1,3 cis. You'll get a cis isomer as the product, right? Then next question. The most stable conformations of 1,2 difluoroethane and DL 2,3 butane diol. Yeah, they are asking most stable conformations for these two compounds. See, the first compound is very simple. I have told you in one of the lectures that when two fluorine atoms present on adjacent carbon, then gauche conformation is preferred. It's called gauche effect. So for the first compound, if two fluorine atoms are present in gauche conformation, it is most stable. So option A has gauche conformation of the first compound, and in option B it is anti. In option D also we have gauche. So the probable answers are either A or B, D. Then we have to compare this. See, it is a diol, right? When diols are given, you should think about hydrogen bonding. Since the OH groups are far away, intramolecular hydrogen bonding is not possible. Whereas in option D, the OH groups are very close. So intramolecular hydrogen bonding is possible. Therefore, this is the correct answer. Because of intramolecular hydrogen bonding, this conformation is more stable for the compound 2. Because of gauche effect, this compound is more stable for compound 1 conformation. Are you able to understand? So for question number 138, some question in CSIR examination, the correct option is D. Then next question. In the most stable conformation of neomenthol, stereochemical orientation of the three substituents are there. Listen, I have told you in this lecture I told you, whenever methyl chloride, menthol, methyl amine, okay, if these compounds are given, remember, if it is menthol, in this compound, the methyl group and isopropyl group should be placed in 1,4 position, and they are supposed to be trans. Then in menthol, methyl group and OH group should be cis. Since it is neomenthol, isopropyl group and the OH group should be cis. Are you able to understand? So this is neomenthol, where the cyclohexane has a methyl group and an isopropyl group, then a OH group. Okay. Now the position of methyl and isopropyl should be 1,4, and they are supposed to be trans. Are you able to understand? And the adjacent carbon we should place OH group. Okay. If it is menthol, then the OH group and the methyl group should be cis. Since it is neomenthol, OH group and isopropyl group should be cis. Are you able to understand? So this is the planar structure of neomenthol. Now, what is the chair conformation? The chair conformation is, listen, since methyl and isopropyl are 1 and 4, 1,4 trans, in which both the groups should be axial or both the groups should be equatorial. Since equatorial is more stable, we will place both methyl and isopropyl group in equatorial manner. Okay. Then, if you see carbon, the isopropyl and OH, they are cis. They are having cis relation, right? For cis isomer, 1,2 cis isomer, one group should be axial, the other group should be equatorial. Since we have placed the isopropyl group in equatorial position, the OH group should be placed in axial. So now what is the answer? See, the answer is OH group is axial. Okay, OH group is axial. See, OH group is axial. Then isopropyl group is equatorial and methyl group also equatorial. So the correct option is B. Okay, see, in these three options, if you find OH group is axial, that is sufficient, because all other options have equatorial options. Okay, so the correct answer is B. Right, then. This is the next question. the most stable conformation for the following compound is the compound given. For this compound, we have in this compound we have cyclohexane ring with an exocyclic double bond, and 2 methyl groups are attached to this carbon, and we have a carbon, we have a methyl group in the adjacent position. Okay. Now, here in the chair conformation, this double bond has 2 methyl group, and this methyl group may present in equatorial form or may present in axial form. If it is present in equatorial form, there will be strong repulsion exists between these 2 methyl group. Okay. So, equatorial form involves some interaction. This interaction is very strong. But when the group goes to axial form, in axial form 1,3 diaxial interaction is there, but compared to those interaction, this interaction is very, very strong. So, which makes the system highly unstable. So, the most stable conformation for this compound is the axial conformation. Are you able to follow? So, so this is axial methyl group. So, this should be the answer for this question. Are you able to follow? Yeah. Next question. This is the next question. Among the structures given below, the one that corresponds to the most stable conformation of the compound A is. See, the compound A, this is compound A, which consists of, this is not an cyclohexane, it has 2 oxygen atoms here, and a methyl group and hydroxy group are cis, are present in cis fashion. Okay. Yeah. Now, this exists also in chair form. So, since if I take this as carbon number 1, and this should be 4, so 1,4 cis. In 1,4 cis, one group should be axial, the other group should be equatorial. So, if we place methyl group in equatorial and this OH group in axial, this is one possible conformation. This will give cis. See, here both group are equatorial. This is trans, and this is another cis. This is again trans. So, among these 2 cis, okay, which is the correct option? When hydroxy group in axial position, there will be, listen, there will be intramolecular hydrogen bonding. See, here I have shown. See, when hydroxy group is present in axial position, there will be intramolecular hydrogen bonding, which stabilizes this cis conformation. Therefore, among these 2 cis conformation, this is more stable cis conformation. Okay? Yeah. Dear all, hope I had covered all the areas broadly. I presume by now you all got an idea about conformation analysis at high level. Thank you all for watching all my lectures in this topic. We at DG Vaishnav College planning to conduct tests on this topic, and we will issue e-certificate for those who are attending the online test, which is planned to be held on 22nd of this month. Watch this space for more details about registration and test link. Thank you all once again for undergoing this online course. Thank you.